Do you remember that silence, the kind that felt louder than any noise? In a 1960s classroom, the air itself seemed to pause, broken only by the steady tick of the clock on the wall. Desks sat in neat rows, shoes still eyes forward, every child aware of the presence at the front of the room. Sometimes it took nothing more than a look to shift the mood entirely. Shoulders tightened, pencils froze, and the room held its breath. Today, classrooms buzz with chatter, but back then, quiet carried meaning. That feeling is where our story begins for us all. To understand why classrooms felt so tightly controlled, we have to step back into Britain just after the war. The country was rebuilding brick by brick, routine by routine, and order mattered. Families valued rules because rules had kept things going through difficult years. Schools reflected that mindset. They were not only places of learning, but training grounds for behavior, respect, and knowing where you stood. Teachers carried the weight of that responsibility. They were expected to shape children into reliable adults ready for factories, offices, and public service. Silence, straight lines, and fixed routines were seen as kindness in disguise, a way of preparing young people for a demanding world. Many adults genuinely believed structure kept children safe and steady. Looking back now, it can feel strict, even intimidating, but at the time, it was rarely questioned. Fear, though never spoken of directly, was woven into expectations and manners. It was thought to build character. Only later would society begin to ask whether calm confidence might work better. That question marks the turning point we'll soon explore. For many pupils, this atmosphere felt normal, familiar, and unquestioned, because everyone around them had known nothing different at the time then. Authority in the 1960s classroom rarely needed to raise its voice. It lived in routines so familiar they felt invisible. Children stood when addressed, answered in full sentences, and moved through corridors in careful lines. Desks were arranged with military neatness, each one a small island of concentration. Titles mattered. Sir and Miss carried weight, signaling distance as much as respect. What's striking now is how even the smallest slip could echo emotionally. A whispered comment, a wandering gaze, a pencil dropped at the wrong moment could draw attention. Not punishment necessarily, but the sharp awareness of being seen. Over time, pupils learned to monitor themselves, to sit straighter, to think twice before acting. Compared to today's relaxed classrooms, it feels another world. Yet this calm control was constant, steady, and rarely questioned. It shaped behavior quietly, teaching children that authority didn't need noise to be powerful. That lesson settled deep, long before anyone noticed it happening. For many, those habits lingered well into adulthood, shaping confidence, caution, and compliance. When people talk about discipline, they often imagine something obvious, but much of it was invisible. In many classrooms, the strongest pressure came from the fear of standing out. No child wanted their name called for the wrong reason, or to feel every eye turned their way. That quiet, risk-shaped behavior more than any raised voice ever could. Before certain lessons, stomachs tightened and hands grew careful. Writing became neater, answers rehearsed silently, movements slower and deliberate. Children learned to read the room, sensing moods, adjusting themselves long before an adult intervened. Disappointment carried weight to letting down someone in authority felt personal, almost heavy. Today, we speak openly about confidence and self-expression. Back then, blending in felt safer. The relief when the final bell rang was real, like air returning to the room. Bags were packed quickly, chairs scraped back, and tension eased. Those small releases reveal how much was held inside all day, and that quiet, pressure-shaped memories long after lessons were forgotten. Forever, perhaps. School life didn't stop when the gates closed behind you. The lessons learned inside followed children home, quietly shaping how they spoke, listened, and behaved. Respect for authority became second nature. Questioning decisions felt risky, even unnecessary, because rules had always been set by someone else. Many learned early to keep their heads down and do as they were told. As those children grew older, the classroom habits slipped easily into working life. You arrived on time, followed instructions, and avoided drawing attention. Confidence was shown through reliability rather than loud opinion. Communication was careful, measured, and polite, with pauses where questions might have been. Seen through today's lens, it can feel limiting, yet for its time, it offered security and clarity. people knew where they stood. These unwritten rules helped some thrive and left others hesitant, but they became part of everyday British character. Long after school days ended, those lessons still echoed in offices, factories, and living rooms. Time has a way of changing how we remember those classrooms. With older eyes, many former pupils can now see both sides of the story. The structure gave shape to uncertain days, offering predictability in a changing world. For some, it brought comfort, routine, and a sense of purpose. Yet, alongside that order sat a quiet pressure, carried without words and rarely acknowledged. Memories soften with distance. The sharp edges blur, leaving moments that feel almost gentle. Still, the emotional imprint remains. A pause before speaking. A careful choice of words, a lingering awareness of authority. None of it was deliberate harm. It was simply how things were done. Looking back today, there's less anger and more understanding. We recognize intentions as well as impact. By revisiting these memories, we aren't judging the past. We're learning from it, and from ourselves, before stepping into how classrooms began to change next. Step into a classroom today, and the contrast is striking. Voices are encouraged, questions welcomed, and feelings given space. Authority still exists, but it sits alongside conversation rather than silence. Something important has been gained, yet some wonder if something was left behind too. The certainty, the shared rules, the clear lines. As we look back, perhaps the real value lies in understanding both worlds. If these memories stirred something familiar, share your own school days below. We'd love to hear them. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.